Hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Can you hear me? I am over here today doing a live on the Nostradamus prophecy, and we respectfully are going to ask questions of Spirit concerning the Pope, the Catholic Church, and the Church of England. I am using a little bit different of a setup here, so let me go ahead and make sure that I am streaming. It says that I am streaming to my YouTube. Oh, and I forgot to do that here. I'm supposed to stream it to, I'm doing it to the channel. Good. So it should be going good to the Rumble as well. I will be taking a few questions here on the YouTube channel. I'll take a peek at Rumble as well. I only have one screen, so I'm not set up like all the other YouTubers, so bear with me. However, at the end, we are going to be doing a Global Shift membership chat where actually, hold on, that's my book. Share this tab instead. We are going to be doing a Global Shift Forecast live membership chat, uncensored live stream down the rabbit hole. This is going to be where I can actually ask questions of Spirit and not get any fear of being censored, any fear of, for example, some of the questions that I want to ask are there lizard people in the church? Are there dark energies in the church? Do we need to be aware of filtration within any of the religious movement there? So I'm going to be sharing that. You will join me there if you are interested. There will always be a replay there as well. Okay, so let's go ahead now and get started. I have here the Nostradamus prophecy book by Mario Reading. And he interprets Nostradamus prophecy. And we have a lot of prophecies about the Catholic Church and a few about the Anglican or the Church of England. And of course, several spot-on prophecies about the Pope. I also suspect a timeline shift where there was an overlap in some of his prophecies that are coming in 2060, but we'll talk about that at the end. Let's get started. I want to share with you first upcoming lives on Wednesday night. I do a global shift forecast that is free to the public on both YouTube and Rumble, and you can ask questions there. I also have a clairvoyant card and an oracle card workshop on April 22nd. This is this coming Tuesday. If you're interested in practicing your own gifts to pull cards for your own economics, your own cards for your own spiritual development, to learn and hear messages from Spirit, or to actually begin channeling Spirit with a paper and pen, this workshop will be for you, definitely. And then I do have some violet flame meditations that are coming soon. You can find them on my website. Okay, let's get started into Nostradamus. And thank you, Calamity Jane 77. You are good. Thank you, because I do have a different microphone setup and a different setup as well. I have not checked to see if I am live on Rumble, so I'm hoping that I am. It says still sending data, so we will see. All right, Nostradamus, review. He lived in France in the 1500s. Some believe he wrote in code or special green language, or he actually had a psychic connection to the Akashic records. But most people believe he just simply was a very intelligent, well-learned man. I personally believe he did have psychic connection. In our first live, about Nostradamus, I think I did it 2 weeks ago. It was about Nostradamus and what was it? Not the church, Nostradamus and I forget what it was. But I did a live the other day. Oh, King Charles and Prince William. There, we pulled cards at the end asking about where did he get his information, and it definitely seems like he's a time traveler or his soul time traveled. He prophesied King Charles III to rise to the throne, and the Church of England would disapprove. That came true. King Charles lost power of all nations, but the British Isles, that appears to be happening right now, but that is prophesied that King Charles, the king at this time period, would lose power of many of the nations except the British Isles. And then there's a prophecy that he would abdicate the throne to, quote, a younger man. So, and then there's a suspect that the monarchy will end at about 2040. Now, let's get into some of his prophecies about the Catholic Church and the Pope. I apologize that some of these pictures are not perfect, but we're going to get started. I invite the presence of Christ consciousness into this live. If you're watching, please share this video with those that you think it will resonate with. Please subscribe. It helps my channel. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Let's get started. Okay, so the first prophecy coming in is that I picked up on in this book was in 2011, Dangers to John Paul, its successor, Benedict the 16th. And it says here, the prophecy on page 67. This is the exact prophecy from Nostradamus. It says here, he who governs with the papal cloak will be induced to act as shepherd. The 12 red ones will come to bury his communion cloth. Under cover of murder, murder will be done. Now, the Catholic Church had harbored murderers in its ranks before. Many people still continue to allege that Pope John Paul I was, quote, done away with by the elements of the church administration. Only 34 days in office in September 78. So there's a conspiracy theory that Pope John Paul was done away with and that he was unalived because he had just completed, but not yet publicized, some dismissal orders for lots of change coming in, for a list of highly placed opponents of change. Anyway, this time the new pope is being pushed to lead from the back as a shepherd does by 12 influential cardinals. The image of the burial is the communion cloak. And so the summary of it, with the interpretation of Mario reading, is after a period of acting simply as a shepherd of the church, Pope Benedict XVI decides to stretch his wings a little. There will be a threat to his death. However, this was in 2011. At the writing of this book in 2015, it seems that this would be a possible death. But now we know that it was a resignation. Pope Benedict announced his resignation on February 13th, citing a lack of strength in mind and body, which was a threat to his life. And the cardinals came and buried him. Buried his communion cloth. Pope Benedict will no longer be able to give communion. However, he will act as shepherd to his successor, Pope Francis. So that was one prophecy that came in. Pope Francis, who is now, I believe, let me look at my chart. My chart is the popes that are currently. Pope Francis is the chart for, is the current pope today, Francis I. Yes. Pope Benedict was from 2005 to 2013, which Nostradamus gave this prophecy at about 2011 to 2013. Well, he prophesied it in 2011, so it's a few years off. He was actually laid to become a shepherd after Benedict came in as a shepherd. He didn't have a whole lot of authority, and he came in as a shepherd as well to Francis I, who is the current Pope. That is an accurate prediction of what happened. Now, the next one is, I'm going to go through these a little bit quickly, but I want you to be able to see the timeline. In 2012, an elected pope mocked his electors, acts suddenly, though briefly and timidly. He is killed for no good. He will fear the death of his guide the night he dies. However, one pope dies so that another may rise. This is something that his death is a symbolic one. Why is this a symbolic prophecy? Because the electors are in line one are the College of Cardinals, not members of the Catholic Church. They actually advise him to follow the guiding principles of Catholic dogma, but on the night he actually basically, it says, if following the threat of his life mentioned in the quatrain, he acts through an uncharacteristic manner, either as a result of injury or a fresh attempt on his life. Basically, his power is stripped. So it's a symbolic prophecy. I'm sorry that I got confused on that. That one was a symbolic prophecy saying that his power is stripped. So we see the decline of the Catholic Church here. Death of a pope. This is a pope saying he is liberal. He's been following more than 30 years of consecutive rule. His election raises hackles. It appears that, again, this is the symbolic change of the Catholic Church, making another man leader. The scandals are beginning in 2017. So this is the death of his power. In 2017, there's predicted to be scandals. Scandals in the church, 2017. Mount Aventine will be seen burning by night. The sky will unexpectedly obscure Flanders. When the leader chases out his nephew, church people will cause great scandals. At this time, there was an eclipse, which is the sky will unexpectedly obscure Flanders. The sun was a total eclipse in August 2017. It will be visible from Flanders. So it's very interesting that he prophesied the eclipse. At this time also, Pope Francis gives lead to Cardinal George Pell. Get this now. Pope Francis in 2017 gives lead to Cardinal George Pell, the third most senior official of the Catholic Church, the third, and the Vatican treasurer, 2017, the beginning of the scandals, the beginning of the fall of the Catholic Church. He gives him leave to travel to his native Australia, where he faces police charges of historical, sexual, I don't want to say it here, offenses. Okay? Inappropriate offenses. This is the beginning of the prophesied 2017 to the date of the scandals in the Roman Catholic Church. It goes on to give several other prophecies about these scandals. One of them is very interesting. It calls these cardinals Saturnians. The Saturnians are roasted by the millers, though most of them will not be converted. So after their correction has burned the donkey drivers, they will be forced out by their habits into new clothing. The Saturnians are roasted by the millers, though most of them will not be converted. There's a real danger of a fundamental rift in the Roman Catholic Church if matters are not quickly brought to order, because the cardinals were refusing to step down as more and more scandals came about. The children of the Saturn shall be great, and they shall never forgive till they are avenged of their quarrel. Basically, what it's saying here, when I read the whole thing, is that the cardinals are going to fight back and try to continue to maintain status, but the people are going to rise up and begin calling out the scandals. And this is exactly what happened to the quatrain, scandals in the Roman Catholic Church. So I have one more, and then we can pull cards on the Catholic Church. We have, that one's there. Yeah, the scandals, the cardinals and the priests are called Saturnians. I'm going to take this to the live in the next member Q&A. Are the Saturnians a reference to Saturn's cube, the worship of El God, Lucifer, and CERN? Because there is a entire dark ritualistic practice, dark elite practice that worships Saturn. So I'm going to be asking Spirit in our membership live, is this any reference by Nostradamus to those who worship Saturn or the god of Saturn that starts with L? Are the Roman Catholics connected to certain? I don't mean any kind of people, of course. My family was raised Roman Catholic. I went through different denominations. I love the church people. I love the community. I love the vibe. I love the Bible stories about Christ. This is in no way disking church. In fact, isn't today Easter? Happy Easter, everyone. Happy Easter. I just think that it's ironic that I was supposed to do this live on the church last week and I'm doing it now. Yeah, I hope it doesn't ruin any Easter vibes for anyone, but happy Easter. So the last prophecy coming in is in page 96. Oh no, it's 216, page 216, that the church lost its way. But this is a major jump from 2017 to actually 2056. However, I believe that there's been a timeline shift because there's a pattern of events in the 2060s that is ironic to a worldwide epidemic, to a US and Chinese standoff. So stay tuned to the end because there's a huge timeline glitch that I think Nostradamus picked up on. Crisis in the Roman Catholic Church. What plague and the sword could not finish dies at the wellhead struck from the sky. The abbot will die when he sees the ruin of those lost overboard, trying in vain to reclimb the ladders. So it's basically a prophecy in 2056 that the Pope dies, the Catholic Church is thrown into disarray with schisms and sects abounding. The church seems to have lost its way. And it continues to say that a younger Pope was elected, but his abilities are a little bit in question. The cardinals think that they made a grave error in electing him, and it's basically mass chaos in the Catholic Church. However, I do think there could have been a timeline glitch, and we're entering into that a little bit sooner. And there's reasons for that as 2056 and 2057. So that's all Nostradamus really has about the Catholic Church. He got Pope John Paul correct. He got Pope Benedict coming in. He was a little iffy on Pope Francis there. It looked like he was going to die, but really it was Pope Benedict was going to die, but really he just gave his power away. A little bit iffy on that prophecy. And then the scandals in 2017 is spot on. He got those spot on. So the question that I want to ask Spirit here is, what can you tell us about the Roman Catholic Church? Just what can you tell us from a general perspective? We're going to ask about the Pope as well. And then we're going to go into his prophecies. There's 3 prophecies about the Church of England and the Anglican Church. Let's go ahead and take that out here. I am streaming to YouTube and Rumble. You can find me on both. Yes, I think we finally went live on Rumble. Please subscribe, please follow, please join me at the Violet Flame Global Shift membership. We're going to pull some deep questions there. It's only $9 a month. I'm putting a lot of money into this setup and into my streaming platform, so I appreciate your support. You can also pay $80 for a year. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And if that's not for you, that's okay as well, because I will still be doing Q&As. We just won't go as deep. Okay, Spear, what can you tell us about the Roman Catholic Church? We get the King of Water that fell out as I was talking, and this King of Water is manipulative. It is very controlling. What can you tell us about the Roman Catholic Church? What is its energy? What is its strength of power right now? Okay, there's a lot ending, 10 of fire, and a new beginning coming in, Ace of water. So there's a lot of change happening, but this is more like change that is cause and effect. This is not worldwide divine change, like the divine is actually involved. This is a cause and effect. Something's ending and it's forcing a new beginning. We have a 9 of earth, which is an independence, but this finances here is coming in, financial independence. Something about finances. Let me just pull the energy and then I'll ask spirit. 7 of fire, rising, something's rising from the ashes. 6 of fire, but something's moving out of the way. Okay, so I'm going to pull these cards. Spirit, what can you tell us about the Catholic Church? I'm seeing Rome, the Vatican. I'm seeing, it's like spirit is pinpointing the energy in Italy there. I'm going to pull these cards out. 7 of wands. We have 2 7 of wands here. So something's rising. Now, this is normally a good elevation. This is normally an ascension on a small scale. We have the blockages and then the spiritual warrior, 2 of swords and the knight of wands. This is telling me spiritual intuition, spiritual warriors in the church have been greatly blocked. But there's a rising, I'm hearing the words, an independent spirit, a fierce spirit, a challenging spirit within the people in the Catholic Church. They're demanding change. This is an elevation within the people, and I'm seeing the mid-level priests, the people in the mid-level priests, like the priests that they go to their seminary and they become pastors of churches. I'm really getting a revolution here in the Catholic Church of we are demanding change to be able to access spirituality for ourselves. Let's see what change they're demanding. This is confirming that timeline shift I saw here at the end, and I'll share that with you again. Spirit, there's a prophecy that in 2060, that Buddhist teachings, a teacher would appear, and this is especially in the Protestant church, but I believe that this is happening throughout all religions. A teacher would appear in spirituality to introduce Buddhist teachings. And the energy I got from that was spirituality on the rise within the religious community. That's in 2060. But I feel that timeline's coming in. What is this revolt? This peaceful revolt to spiritual independence. It's a good energy. 8 of wands energy. 8 of pentacles. This is the worker, the layman, not the structures, but the way church is done, the rituals, the way it's presented. So the Catholic Church has very specific rituals. Like when you walk into the church, you have to kneel down before you go into the row. You have very specific rites and patterns that you do where you light the candle and you do the Eucharist, the eating of, and you have to do it a certain way. And it's very, very controlled. But the Queen of Cups, she has the energy of the mother, the emotional aspect. So this revolution within the Catholic Church is looking for a more emotional connection instead of a ritualistic connection. And this is very favorable to the growth of the Catholic people, the people who adhere to Christianity and the Catholic faith. This is very positive for them because there are some mid-level priests and lower grade priests that are fighting for the emotional presence of the church instead of being so tied to rituals. So in a way, it is losing its power. It's that liberal, and when I say liberal, I don't mean the anti-conservative. I mean like the let's do things the way that resonates with you. Do you want to kneel before you go into your pew, or do you not want to? Do what feels right to you. Do you want to take the communion this way or this way? It's liberal, it's freedom to say you do it the way that feels best for you. That energy is pervading the Catholic Church. Okay, this is positive. But what does this mean for the leadership of the Catholic Church, Spirit? What can you tell us about the leadership, the cardinals? Let's go into the cardinals, where some of those scandals happened. What can you tell us about some of the higher grade leadership, where the rules and the rituals and then also the scandals have come from? I'm hearing the words, the scandals aren't just in the hierarchy. They are in all the priests as well. But I'm hearing that message. Let's see. 7 of air, lies, manipulation, chaos, a lot of ego, a lot of denying what's really in the hierarchy, a lot of denial of what's really happening in the hierarchy. Page of earth. This is the children. Page is always a son to me, unless I'm talking about a career or a business. A lot of conflict. 5 of fire, conflict of wands. 4 of earth, control, movement of finances, funds, stealing, trying to move funds into their direction. Infighting, there's a lot of infighting here. The cardinals are not getting along. A lot of ego, lies, lying to the media. Children. I almost don't want to pull on the children here, but let's use this deck. What can you tell us about children? Is it just simple, ordinary, and it's never ordinary? Tower. Yeah, this is the abuse. Let's just say that. The abuse. Tower. Tower can be electricity. And I don't mean electrocution. Children again. Page of Pentacles. This is the abuse with the S word. This is the abuse here of children, especially like the boys, emperor, the structures, the hierarchy, father figures. Yeah, okay, I don't want to go into this, but there is a lot of abuse of the altar boys that came up in both decks by people who claim, the leaders who claim to be their father, doing it in the name of their father, like, I'm here to take care of you. And so we're not going to go into that anymore. Let's look at some of the money. What can you tell us about the money? What's going on that hierarchy of level with the cardinals with their money? Ace of Wands, 7 of Swords. They're lying again. Knight of Swords. This is the Jesuits or the military aspect of the Catholic Church. That they're not being honest about something because something is changing. This is that new beginning. I'm hearing the words new headquarters, new leadership. This is the military, the hidden military. Queen of Swords, 3 of Pentacles, deals being made, the Fool, newness. So I believe that the secret society, more so of the hierarchy of the cardinals, including the Jesuits, I don't want to say the K word, but there's something having to do connected to that the Kazare, I can't say it, but anyway, there's definitely some leagues being made with the group from Israel, okay? That underground group that claim to be Jews, but they're not. This connection to that, they're not part of them, but they're interconnected. This is that darker side of the Catholic Church that has the military. They do the dirty work. They evolved from the Jesuits of the past who would actually unalive people from like the Dark Ages. So this is that kind of secret society that Spirit is bringing in. That group is making new deals with people because they're having to revamp the way they do things. I don't know what kind of new beginning this is, but they're making new deals and signing new contracts. It looks like they're under new leadership and it's positive. Whatever they're doing, it's positive. This could very well be a kind of ending of the old way the Jesuits used to do things. 10 of Cups. This is more family-oriented and people-oriented. Okay, I was not expecting that positive vibe. So take it as it resonates. There still was stuff that happened with not so positive, but when it comes to the money, they are lacking money and they need to make deals with people. It's almost like a mini surrender. They're making a mini surrender to some better forces. Who are these better forces? They were in league with the people from Israel, that underground group. Now they're making new agreements with other people. That's coming up as the Sun card. Spirit, what is this? Queen of Cups. They were made an offer. Page of Wands. They were made an offer to, I'm hearing the word stand down, integrate. Queen of Cups is for the betterment of humanity. It's more stable. The offer card, 4 of Cups, and the Page of Wands. Yeah, this is the military of the Catholic Church. High Priestess, 8 of Pentacles, to work in another area, at another location, the new card. Okay. Whew, I have a feeling the dark entities left this group because they were forced out and now the group is revamping. We'll ask that here in the membership Q&A. Okay. Let's ask one more about the Pope. If you have any questions that are not too deep, go ahead and put them in. You can also go to my website, okay? My website here is there, and you can actually go in violetflame.net, the global shift, and there's the private live link, members only link. You will click on this private members only link here in about 30 minutes. I'll go live there. And then you can also go to the website and ask questions. Now, if you have a Rumble account, you can ask questions right from Rumble. But you can also go to the form and ask any question that you want. And this form, you can be as specific as you want, as uncensored as you want. All right. So Spirit, let's go ahead and ask about the future of the Pope. We went to the Cardinals. We got some of the energy of the Jesuits or whatever that military is. Spirit, what can you tell us about the Pope? Thank you. 7 of Air. Again, a lot of deception, lies, not real transformation. We're not being told what's really happening about the Pope. He's losing his power. He's being controlled. Yep, control card, 9 of Fire. Look how she's controlling her stars. 8 of Air, stripped of his power. He's lost his power. I'm hearing the words empty shell. And we have a military coming in. Okay, Spirit, tell me about this force that's controlling him. Who is this? It's either an intelligence agency or a military. Is this the White Hats or is this the deep state? Thank you. 9 of Swords, stress, the Empress card, the Magician card. One more, 7 of Cups. So right now, the whole Pope issue is in a lot of confusion. It's being transformed, but there appears to be a woman figure that still has control. What is this Empress card? What is this Magician card? Who is controlling the Pope? He was made an offer. Page of Wands, to be a puppet. This could also be CGI. Hi, Barb. How are you? We're pulling cards on the Pope, the High Priestess. Okay, so he's definitely a puppet. A lot of control coming in, and come to think about it, this Empress card is a system or a nation, and this High Priestess card is a secret society of some sort. The Magician, this could be an ancient mystery school. He's either CGI or he is being controlled as a puppet. He was given an offer, or there was, I'm hearing the words, a takeover, because of his corruption and certain corruption. That's the High Priest. Who is pulling the strings of the Pope? Ace of Swords. The Sun card, higher consciousness. 10 of Cups. There is a massively good energy that's actually, and I don't want to say controlling, because this kind of consciousness doesn't control, but it's almost like it's got a bubble of energy around everything that happens around Pope Francis, almost like he can't move. And I don't mean that literally. I mean that like there's some sort of higher consciousness that has somehow connected to him so that he cannot operate for the dark elite. Either there's a consciousness in him that was transferred, sort of like President Putin, if you know what I'm talking about. There's either a consciousness transferred, or there's the white hats that are using him and telling him everything that he needs to do. Everything that he needs to do. This is reminding me of something that is slightly controversial on the church stage, and that is taking of the Eucharist. The Catholic Church, at about 400 to 500 AD, I believe, began instituting this idea of, might have been later than that, of eating bread and drinking wine as if they're eating the body of Christ, as if they're drinking the blood of Christ. And there's this huge controversy about, is it really the body and blood of Christ, of Jesus, or is it not? And then we've had those of us who are wild thinkers that say, well, isn't that cannibalism? Why do we need to pretend to eat someone to fellowship if we can truly just be a part of Christ's consciousness? Pope Francis, a few years back, dared to propose to the Catholic Church that they do away with eating of the Eucharist. But many of the Catholic people see that as a ritual of participating with Christ energy, with the Christ, and they weren't ready to let that ritual go. So if you're a Catholic here and you take the ritual in honor of the Christ, good for you. However, I'm just thinking about maybe some of this higher consciousness from some of these mystery schools, or this white hat is trying to change the church to be more spiritual instead of needing all the rituals. So that could be the shift in consciousness that I'm seeing around the Pope, because he actually proposed doing away with the Eucharist. And of course, the church, the people had an outrage because that's their connection to the Christ. Was it a ritual instituted by the darkness? We're going to ask in the membership. I'm going to write that question down. Is the taking of the Eucharist truly a Christ consciousness ritual? And the origin of the Eucharist, that's the bread and the wine, a dark or light ritual? Because in esoteric Christianity, they teach it is a ritual of light, because it represented spiritual connection to the Christ. They don't believe you need to do it now, but they do believe it was a spiritual connection. But many people have also theorized that it was part of the dark elite lizard people wanting people to pretend to eat somebody. Okay, so join me there. You will find me there at the Violet Flame Global Shift. The link is in the comment. It's pinned here to YouTube. Uncensored membership, the Global Shift. And then I also have a form that you can ask questions, or if you're on Rumble, you can easily ask questions through the private link there as well. Okay. So the Pope right now is totally being controlled. Going back to the prophecy of Nostradamus. Oh, my dear friends and conspiracy theorists. In 2017, where was it? Page 70, there was a prophecy of the death of a pope. Okay, so Nostradamus got the prophecy right about Pope John Paul dying and Benedict coming in, okay, in 78. He got that prophecy right, and that it could have been a potential murder. He got that right. He then allegedly missed a prophecy that he got the scandals right in 2017, but he missed allegedly the death of a pope in 2014, and that would have been Pope Francis. Is this that alleged CGI control takeover, or even completely losing power, being in the hands of someone else? Is that what I'm seeing here? That Nostradamus got it right? That there would be change, making another man leader soon, but also too late. A young man will attain high office by land and sea. He must be feared. Now it says that Pope Benedict would die and he would give it to another man. Well, basically he didn't die. He said he gave his power to Pope Francis. Okay. But then in 2014, Pope Benedict, that's in 2006, where he gives it to Pope Francis. Let me look at the timeline of the popes here for you. All right. In 2005, Pope Benedict XVI kind of takes a sabbatical and begins to support Francis in 2013. So it is a small death there. But then we have another prediction of a pope losing power. And I'm thinking that is Pope Francis leaving power as well, and possibly surrendering to the White Hats. So let me just go ahead and leave that there. That is one speculation because if you go back and watch the live, there was one prophecy that seemed vague. And it's like, no, that's not the way it happened. Like Pope Francis is still alive. What? Well, maybe he's under so much more control that the spirit realm sees him as having rolled over his power. So I think that's very, very, very interesting there. Okay, yes, Barb. Galactic helpers to bring in positive things. Something is controlling the Pope that is almost otherworldly. Some sort of higher consciousness, golden age presence. I'm not getting exact, like the US white hat presence. I'm not getting like the white hat UK presence. I'm getting like a higher consciousness, golden age, mystery schools, ascended mass, maybe even some of the modern Merlins of the day have kind of come in because of the corruption of the Pope and have said, we're going to set the bounds and you're going to lose complete power. Now the cardinals are still fussing and creating havoc, but the Pope is really stripped of his power. Okay, so let's go ahead now and do Church of England. And I'm going to lead into that timeline shift about what that I was talking about. Spirit. Okay, the Church of England, there's 2 or 3 prophecies. On page 42, it talks about the Anglican Church, crisis in the Protestant Church in 2006. I'm going to read the summary here. The Anglican Church will be thrown into array by the perpetual argument over gay clergy and female bishops. There is a distinct possibility of permanent schism between the conservative and liberal elements of the synod, which may result in the church splitting into 2 separate congregations. That was a potential prophecy in 2006 for the Protestant church. The next one is in page 109. And this is a desire to separate from the royal family and the British monarchy. This is the Anglican Church, okay? And this is a constitutional crisis occurs on the death of Queen Elizabeth II. The disestablishment of the Church of England, thanks to the civil nature of Charles' second marriage to former Camilla, is a distinct possibility. Basically, it's saying because of the victimization of Queen Diana, the Church of England is taking a stand against the royal family, which is, this is the prophecy, it's going to weaken both, but especially the royal family, because the Church of England is separating. And then the only other one about the Protestant church or the Anglican church is, and that one was in 2022 with King Charles coming to the throne. Is a great, he lost the approval of many church people and church clergy. Hi, Shauna. So good to see you. But the second prediction, the last and final prediction about the Protestant church here, number one, it seems to be very weak. The first one's 2006, where it begins to split over its liberal policies, and liberal meaning the choice to choose for themselves, female bishops, gay clergy. It starts to split there in 2006. It begins to further be weakened when they begin to disapprove of King Charles in 2022, especially with the victimization of Princess Diana. But in 2059, now I'm going to talk about this timeline glitch that I'm seeing, but in 2059, Buddhism and the Protestant church, 2 will be besieged with burning fervor. 2 full cups will not quench their thirst. The strong are finished, and an old dreamer will show the Genevans the way to Naira. Now, the Genevans represents the Protestants here in the Nostradamus code, Nostradamus prophecies. Geneva is the doctrines of Geneva in 1541. Nostradamus was a Catholic, so he wasn't favorable of Calvin, which put together the Protestant religion and the Geneva Code, the Geneva Bible, the separation from the Catholic Church. But he says, an old dreamer will begin to show the Genevans, the Protestants, the way to Nerva. Now we're talking about Naira, N-I-R-A. Many people believe this could be Nirvana, like the Buddhist word Nirvana, or it could mean not to go or something like that, an Iranian word. Basically, though, it is a prophecy that an elderly spiritual guide will point adherents of the old church toward Buddhist teachings, equating with the Calvinist doctrine a particular redemption and connecting it to the teachings of Buddha, which represent a cessation of suffering. Calvinism was a lot about being hardcore and suffering for Christ. So Buddhism is finding that place of nirvana. The summary of this is the Protestant church has lost its direction and sense of spirituality in an ever more materialistic world. Lessons need to be learned from the wise. A teacher will appear. So those are the prophecies of the Protestant church. It seems to be a lot more weaker than the structure of the Catholic Church here in the prophecies. Now, what I want to go into, which I think is a timeline overlap, is starting in 2056, there seems to be a code of events that I think was actually triggered by the US pandemic. I think there was some looking glass type technology, I'm trying not to say the wrong words, that actually triggered an event, because in 2054 there is a US and Chinese standoff where they actually make an agreement and become two world powers. China and the United States are now equally powerful and equally influential on the world stage. A treaty is agreed, diffusing potential areas of conflict. There's a temporary standoff. Okay. All right. So this is 2054, 2055. There's a pact between the United States and China. Nostradamus warns of what will happen if the pact should ever fail. And then we have here crisis in the Roman Catholic Church. The Pope dies and the Catholic Church is thrown into disarray. The church seems to have lost its way. Is that what we're facing right now, with the control having been taken over by the Pope, which allegedly is not even truly leading the way he needs to lead? Possibly CGI, or controlled by higher consciousness. A much younger Pope will be elected. Okay, so that's the crisis, but that's not what I wanted to get into. I want to get into Protestant and the church, a rise of spirituality that I just mentioned, bringing Buddhism. I feel that in the last 5 years, the amount of teachings that have come to Christianity that involve embracing spirituality has skyrocketed. People are leaving dogmatic religions, and they're wanting to embrace. And you saw that at the beginning of the live, where even the lower grade people in the Catholic Church, they're like wanting to begin doing the rituals their way. That kind of spirituality seems to be coming in so hot and fast. And we also seem to be getting a pact here with the US. Get this, 2060, England secedes from the European Union. Whoa. That happened, what, 2016? And there's actual prophecies here. Oh, I didn't write them down, where England and the UK tried to secede, but they couldn't manage it. And this is like in 2040. They tried to secede and they were refused. I'll have to try to find it here. So Nostradamus, you're a little bit off here. I believe that they already seceded, right? They already left the European Union. The UK already left the European Union. So my question here, UK, oh, here it is, 2019, the UK fails to exit the European Union. But then in 2060, England secedes from the European Union. And there's actually several other prophecies about how Scotland is upset. Let's see here, consequences of England's secession from the EU, 2064. England and Scotland fall out over the EU. This sounds very familiar, but it's not over yet. We have China and the US trying to make an agreement, which we saw the Chinese elders in China making an agreement. We saw here the crisis in the Catholic Church, where a Pope dies or loses its power. We see the UK. This is all from a period of 2056 to 2064. The UK secedes from the European Union. French leadership. A worldwide epidemic, 2062. What? An epidemic that was thought to be defeated flares up again, killing more people than before. And then 2063, peace reigns over the earth. With the plague over, the earth shrinks. Peace will reign for a good while. People will travel through the sky like birds, and by sea and wave, before war once again is called for. The earth's population has drastically shrunk thanks to the worldwide epidemic of 2062. There is a period of calm and harmony in the world, possibly as a result of collective shock. And then it talks again about the European Union and secession of England from the European Union, Scotland fallout. So anyway, I'm just wondering, and maybe I'll have to do a video on this a little bit more, but there seems a worldwide pandemic, England seceding from the Union, a rise in spirituality within religion, and a pope dies or loses its power. That seems to be from 2016 to 2025. And I'm just curious. I'm just going to throw it out there, then we'll pull cards. I'm just curious if maybe the dark ones reached into time and triggered an early pandemic because they were afraid of certain world events that were about to happen. And they tried to regain the narrative, and they pulled in some of the events from 2056 to 2060. I don't know. Does that sound crazy? Something's just not right. Something's just not, especially with the prophecy in 2022, where the UK tried to secede, but they couldn't. They failed to secede from the European Union. Very, very interesting. Yeah, sounds like they have the right timeline in the right order, but the wrong dates. Exactly. Yes, the UK has left, but 2060 and 2016 sounds so familiar. Ooh, yes. Okay, Naira. Some interpretations suggest that Naira could symbolize purity, clarity, and a cleansing force, drawing from its linguistic roots in Sanskrit, where it means pure or clean. So this, I think, would represent cleaning the church, a teacher that's going to rise to help clean all the ick from the church and bring people back to purity and integrity. Okay, so I already pulled on the Catholic Church and the Pope. I want to now pull on the future of Protestantism. And then I'm going to take a quick break, and I'm going to jump over to my live membership. You can find that here on the link in the description box or in the chat, Violet Flame, the Global Shift. And we will be joining this private link, members only. And I am going to be asking about lizard people. Yeah, the reptiles. I'm going to be asking about, are they involved? Because there's a prophecy where Nostradamus referred to them as Saturnians. The Saturnians is the code of worshiping Saturn, the Saturn cube, CERN. So is the Church of England connected to those our people? Do our people run it or affect the Church of England in any way? Because we know the royal family, we suspect, are part of the our people, the lizard people. Other questions. Are dark entities being overthrown by the Great Awakening? I'm going to looking into that, but we're going to be using words that we can use, like the C word and the R word. And I'm also going to be looking in to see if there's any kind of, I wrote the question down, the origin of the Eucharist. Is it dark or light? Is it just an esoteric way of connecting to the Christ, or was it really a form of the cannibal, type rituals of the lizard people? So we're going to go deep into that. I'm so happy not to have to watch my words. Who is the author of the book I am looking at? Yes, Mario Reading. I'm sorry that it's backwards here. It's called Nostradamus, the Complete Prophecies for the Future. Mario Reading. Yes, spelled just that way. Mario Reading. And Mario Reading does do his own interpretations, and he will put footnotes in there if he feels like that he got it wrong or if he got it right. So it is an interpretation of a prophecy, but I think it's pretty cool. Spirit, what can you tell me? What can you tell me, Spirit, about the future of Protestantism? So I'm being reminded of a message I received from Spirit earlier this morning of all religion and religious Christianity, religion of any sort, was a stepping stone for us from our most darkest period, when we needed rituals, we needed religion, we needed priests, we needed pastors, because our consciousness is not the same as it is today. Our consciousness was actually very simple. People woke up, they worked in their field, they ate their beans and rice, or they ate their potatoes, they went to bed. They woke up. They didn't have plans for the future. They didn't have intellectual conversations. All they had was a few statues and a priest that said, here's Mother Mary, here's St. Francis. Go give them some food at the bottom of their statue and they will protect you. And they were just so happy. It was their point of contact. What happened, and I talk about it in my book, Spiritual Technologies and the Bible, is that during this time when the consciousness of humanity, 400 AD, even the time of Christ, they needed leadership. But it was a vacuum for dark entities to come in and establish a ritualistic leadership of control. And there's a chapter in here called, what do I call it? It's called, I talk about telepathy in the Bible. I talk about divination. It's all in the Bible. And it's just been hidden in plain sight. And I talk about the Council of Nicaea and how the church of the day actually rose up and began denouncing divination, began denouncing the religious banning of spiritual tools. And it was the spirit of Jezebel, the spirit of Baal, those false gods, those actual demonic entities came in. They began banning tarot. They began banning Bible reading, the Council of Nicaea. They actually began so much so as to say, like, if you had to pray, everyone's going to pray on their feet. If you're going to be saved, you need to give X amount of money to the church. The Bible was banned. Many people banned any kind of teachings. The church burned Galileo at the stake for being an astronomer with different opinions. They burned Joan of Arc for being, quote, a witch because she had visions like the prophets. She connected to St. Michael and St. Catherine. They burned not Martin Luther, but they burned John Huss and John Wycliffe for translating the Bible into English. And they actually began, here's an actual decree that they made. No one may possess the books of the Old and New Testaments in the Romance language. This is in 1234 CE. And if anyone possesses them, he must turn them over to the local bishop within 8 days after promulgation of this decree, so that they may be burned, so that the books may be burned. And anyone who helps Christian men to study the gospel in that tongue, which they know best, they called Wycliffe a heretic. And they actually dug up his grave and burned him because he helped people read the Bible in English. The church went into a very dark period. Are we supposed to roll over and believe that there still isn't darkness there? Join me. If you're even watching this on the live play, join me in the membership chat, in the membership live. We're going to look at some of that darkness. I feel that Spirit just wants us to be aware. And also, I think that there's some high vibrational energy coming in. Galactic helpers, such as we saw with the Pope, that's going to take things back. And that Christ consciousness energy is what I want to be part of. So we're going to look at that. We're going to look at the entities. Yes. Spirit, what can you tell me about the Protestant church? We once needed it. We need the church, but we're growing. The Protestant church, its structures are on fire. Not literally. This is the Emperor card, which represents the systems, denominations. They're in a lot of conflict. So from spiritual perspective, when we look at the church, they can't agree. They're constantly conflicting with each other. And having been to Bible school, I can fully agree with this. There are so many churches in the Protestant movement where, oh, we're the best church. And yeah, you believe in Christ, but we have the right doctrine. You don't believe the same way we believe. And that produces so much division. It is almost worse than racism. It is almost worse than racism. It's like we're of God and you're not. And it's an energetic conflict. That is a problem for the spirit, for angels. That's a problem. This is the queen of air. This is the speaking truth no matter what, with no concern for people's feelings. This is the dogma. Interesting that the Catholic Church seems to be evolving in a more better way, where the lay people are wanting to explore spirituality for themselves. But when I ask about the Protestant movement, there's a lot of still dogma that's being cleansed. Messengers of fire, messengers, hearing of hope, king of fire, leadership. Okay, Spirit, this is the energy of the church. This is the energy of the Protestant church. The star card. So spiritual guidance is trying to come in, but there's a lot of control with both the Church of England and the more Western churches. I'm seeing a lot within the US and North America, Canada, the churches, because I believe South America is mostly Catholic. A lot of people are looking for Christ in their own way within the Catholic Church. I've seen a lot of people ascend from within the Catholic Church. This Protestant energy is high vibrations are trying to come in. The angels are there, and I feel that. There are some angels that are there in these churches, but the dogma and the control. Eight of Swords, limiting beliefs. The blank card, Ace of Pentacles. Okay, so the ascended ones, the galactics, the beings of light that are focused on religious ascension, ascending into spirituality, are actually trying to bring in a lot of light to the religious movement. The dogma and the limiting beliefs is creating in the structures, the pastors, the people that are set in their ways. They follow their statements of faith regardless of what people think or feel or question. That kind of control is a major blockage for the Protestant church, but something's coming in that we can't see. And this is going to produce a brand new aspect. I'm just trying to get clarity if we can find out what this is, because the blank sometimes means we're not supposed to know. But this is going to produce a brand new beginning for the Protestant movement in the religious communities. Spirit, can you tell me or not? Yeah, I'm feeling a tight stab to my heart, so that's a no. Something having to do with families and heaviness and a new truth. This is some sort of new truth, new awakening. But I'm definitely being stabbed in the heart, so it's saying I can't look. But something's coming within the next few years that's going to shake the church. Religion was created to keep us controlled, scared, and indoctrinated. That's exactly it. Religion was created. When Christ came in, I believe that was the beginning of earth, becoming a star, wanting to ascend. I'm an esoteric Christian, not completely dogmatic on it, but I love exploring it. When Christ came in, when Jesus came in, he embodied the Christ presence, Christ consciousness, and the earth made an agreement with humanity. We're going to ascend into Christ consciousness. But it also created, because the consciousness of humanity was a little bit dumbed down, we weren't intelligent enough to embrace Christ consciousness and create protections and growth around it, communities around it. It created a vacuum, and the religion came in to control. A lot of confusion right now, a lot of confusion, people not knowing who they are, people not knowing who their pastors are. People are just questioning. It's a lot of chaos in the Protestant and Anglican church. People are just really quiet. People also waking up politically, economically, spiritually, and it's causing them to ask questions about the church. But something's coming. Something's coming that's going to awaken the church. Christ within us. That's right. Christ within us. Okay, everyone. It is 12:15. I'm going to get off of here, and then I'm going to join on my Global Shift website here. I want to invite you to join me. If you want to, it won't be for everyone, but if it is for you, I would love for you to join me. This is going to be a private Rumble link. You will click this one right here, private link, members only. And I am going to be looking at some of the deep topics. You can also come back to the replay if you wish. I want to thank you all for joining me today. I want to thank you on YouTube and Rumble. Please like and subscribe. We're going to get this channel up and moving and going. Share it with people of like mind that you like this with. I think I'm going to be doing one more Nostradamus prophecy, possibly about US, China, the pandemic, and to see if that was a timeline glitch that actually happened now. I was a little bit depressed when I looked at the future. It's like, wait, 20 years from now, we're having all these wars. It's like, where's the golden age? So I really want to ask question and like the rise of the global wars and nuclear predictions in the 60s, 1960s, warnings of a global war. I feel that's where we're at right now. So I really want to see if that's going to happen, see what our future is. Have we timeline jumped and we're no longer in that trajectory of time? So we're going to see if the spirit being Kronos wants to join us. Kronos, the god of time. We'll see if Archangel Michael will let him come in. Thank you so much. Will the lost books of the Bible be revealed? Yes. Hi, Richard. Yeah, let's go ahead and ask that question here. That'll be our last question. Will the lost books of the Bible be revealed? Because at about 400 AD in the Council of Nicaea, at the time, Emperor Constantine and the beginning of the Roman Catholic Church actually made a decree that only certain books would be included in the Bible. So, Spirit, what can you tell us about that? Okay. So it's looking like the church will not embrace the lost books of the Bible. We have a no card. We have the card of the Five of Cups where they are kind of in depression, but there's cups behind them. The books will always be there, but only those that are connected to their intuition will completely connect to them. So, but I believe when I pulled cards is, will the church embrace the lost books of the Bible? I'm getting a no. At least in this time period, because the consciousness of people still in religion cannot handle their religion to change that drastically. But people of high vibration are going to connect to those books of the Bible, those that were either repressed, left out of the Bible, those that were lost and buried completely. What about the book of Enoch and the book of Jubilees? So the book of Enoch, Spirit, what can you tell me about the book of Enoch? Seven of Swords, the Magician card, and the Strength card. So basically, we know that the book of Enoch, I don't believe, is lost. The book of Enoch is a very misunderstood. This is the card of misunderstood, some deception around it. It's a magical book, a book of something that happened, but then it's also possibly been explained away by the ego of the church. So what I'm getting here about the book of Enoch is the stuff in the book of Enoch is very spiritual, and it's a metaphor for spiritual things. It's a very high grade book that the consciousness of humanity actually at the time couldn't even handle. But that I do believe it's going to be awakened as people of their intuition begin to study it. They say the ancient texts have layers of spirituality, or awareness. Like, one, you can be understood by the common everyday people. It's the story of Jonah, the story of David, the story of Jesus. But then there's layers, the spiritual layer, and then there's another spiritual layer. Where Enoch is like a high spiritual awareness. That's a metaphor for some very spiritual happenings, war in heaven, angels and entities, and Atlantis days. Our consciousness could not handle the book of Enoch. Either it was repressed or our consciousness was kept from handling it. Yes, alludes to spiritual or alien or off-world entities. It's still followed by the Orthodox Church in Ethiopia. Interesting. And also indicates that the timeline originally mapped out in the Old Testament may be skewed. Yes, some of the lost books are already in print. So Spirit isn't really saying here that all of them have been lost. It's just that they've been sort of misunderstood, misinterpreted, or repressed. And that our consciousness was not allowed to handle them because of the way things were taught. That is a whole nother live. All right, everyone. Thank you so much. I'm going to get a tea, meet you on my website. If you can't join me, there's always a replay. And if not, if you can't join me at all, I know it's Easter. I will see you next Wednesday for Global Shift Forecast on YouTube and Rumble. Please subscribe, and I will see you there. Have a beautiful Easter. Until next time. Thank you.